You are listening to the Roberta Glass True Crime Report, putting the true back in true crime. From New York City, Roberta Glass is now on the record.
Okay. How is everyone doing? If he did it. That's what we're talking about today. If he did it. If JF Gariepy made his girlfriend, or as he calls her, Elora Patoine, his wife, disappear, how would he do it? That's what we're going to be talking about today. But first, I wanted to look at some interesting comments I got. This is from Not Maureen. She wrote, or he wrote, "This man sees women and children as property and is extremely possessive and controlling over his property. I kind of doubt he'd accept or hire outside help. We're all kind of avoiding the elephant in the room, which is, have the children even been seen?" Good point, Not Maureen. What made me think that the children are real and involved was a comment that was left on Reddit where she talks about Elora having 2 children, knowing her, saying she was very difficult to get along with, and that she has 2 children, that she was pregnant in the summer of 2022, and that was her second child, and she had a daughter. So the question is, what happened to these children? And that's the one subject JF will not talk about. We also got another comment about his children. So it starts out from Nightmare Man 1. "I don't think he has kids. When he streams, there is never any interruptions. Either he hires a sitter or they're not there." And Possum Friend 2335 writes, "I hope not, since he sleeps until afternoon." Good point. He said everyone sleeps. We're all programmers here. We all sleep late. Like, there's going to be a toddler who's a programmer. We're all. Who is we all then? For sleeping late. And Not Maureen obviously chimed in with her comment. And then we had one comment from I Like Turtles 6777. And they write, "Google Earth, Prince Edward Island. I think I found the bridge he says he dropped her at that goes into Borden Carlton. In his recent interview, he says he dropped her near the ocean. Only later in the interview, he claimed how he'd do it if he murdered her, citing Dexter episodes where the killer cuts a body into pieces and wrapped them in plastic and threw them into the ocean. Makes me wonder if he did make her disappear, if it was in the ocean near that bridge. Notice he says where I dropped her off, not dropped her off, and his drop location seems to change. I left her in front of some cameras. It's very important. I'm always aware, right? We're all so aware where the cameras are when we go to the gas station, aren't we? Isn't that what we're looking for when we're looking to pump some gas into our car? We're all looking for those cameras and make sure that we're caught on camera. So let's look at that bridge. I have actually found some really good video of this bridge to really give you. It's an 8-mile long bridge. So just to give you an idea, and I'm not going to turn the sound on because it's just music, which is always a drag for me. But take a look at this for those of you watching on YouTube and not listening on podcasts. It is a freaking enormous bridge surrounded by water, like bridges are so often. But just vast, vast, vast ocean. Beautiful, beautiful area of Canada, certainly. But look how big. And so we're supposed to think that she hitched a ride because of course she's engaging in such risky behavior. And I'll explain in a little bit why that's so important to JF to keep stressing that. But take a look. Sure, I'm sure you could throw anything off the bridge, off the side, and it looks like it would be really hard to find. So that'll give you some idea of what we're talking about. So either she was supposed to walk 8 miles from Prince Edward Island into Moncton, or we are to believe that she hitched a ride there. I don't know about that, guys. I really don't. It just seems like if you were walking across the bridge and that someone would see you. And if you hitched a ride, why aren't any of these people that she hitched a ride with saying anything? Oh, yeah, I saw this even mistakenly. And I do think that 19th of June sighting is a mistaken sighting. Just because of the pleasure that JF takes in talking about it and the kind of duper delight look on his face. Obviously, that's just an impression. It's not solid evidence. It's just a hunch, clearly. And none of us can know. But interestingly, I mentioned yesterday, I even read some of it, that Kelly Weil, the same journalist who wrote the original story about JF Gariepy's history with targeting women who are mentally disabled or mentally challenged, however you want to put it. She covered his disappearance, and it's all over the papers, not just the local Canadian ones. And so when he saw the cover, he said, "Oh, I love the broken glass montage they did." And here's the headline: white supremacist vlogger Jean-François Gariepy's partner has been missing since June. So that's what he has to say. I would be screaming about my missing wife and has anyone seen her? I really wouldn't be commenting so much on these journalistic pieces except to say I didn't do it. But that's not really important to JF. He loves the notoriety that comes with this, because it's all about him. I've devoted all week to talking about JF Gariepy. I feel like we're at the end of it here, unless something else comes to light. I don't know how many more deep dives I can do. But here's a interesting run. So let me just give you a rundown of what we know so far. So this is from Reddit, and this is actually from the poster who said they knew Elora. The timeline I know so far: he dropped her off near the bridge. This is what we know so far. to another province. So from Prince Edward Island, he dropped her off on the bridge that goes into Moncton, near the bridge. He dropped her off at a gas station, near a bridge. At a gas station that has cameras. That was her last known location. She had agreed to keep in contact with him. She communicated with him a bit for 2 days after. In 2 days, she sent a message and told him, she no longer wishes to be in contact. She then went dark. JF claims to have spoken to her parents as well as lawyers. I think I will confirm that fact. I didn't hear him say he had spoken with lawyers. Did you guys? Let me know. To see if anyone had alerted him of her disappearance. According to him, her family and whoever else he spoke to said she left on her own accord and expressed her desire to not be contacted, so no need to look for her. In October, a concerned citizen called the police, and that's when the missing person alert went out. So that's what we know so far. But also, and what JF says, you were the last known person to see her. This is on Twitter. He says, no, she has been traveling and leaving an electronic trace far from mine. So I did not expect to be a suspect in her disappearance. Excuse me, I had to cough. It's a little bit different story, no? She's been leaving an electronic trace. She was only supposed to have left an electronic trace for 2 days before deciding to not leave one at all, because that's the better decision, right? To have no ties and have no alert system when something goes wrong, like a cell phone or even a whistle. Nothing. So that's a little bit different. He's like, well, she's been leaving all these electronic traces. Well, only for 2 days. So I think he's modifying his story as it goes on. So when did is there a date on that? Oh, darn it. I didn't put a date, but that was early on, beginning of near when the story broke. So as he gives interviews, the story changes. And I'm sure investigators are paying attention to these interviews because they don't have much. So it's wise when you're in a situation like JF's to not give interviews and not talk about it. Why is he giving interviews? Shouldn't he be out looking for his missing wife? But he's back on his podcast, took a few days off, but right before he stopped, right before he took that break between the 17th and the 19th, where he said he was doing so much cleaning, this apparently happened. Hold on 1 second. Here we go. He took 3 days off. Mama went missing on the 17th, and I cleaned and sterilized the house, he says, right after she vanishes. He then did a review stream of the Cube movie trilogy, and his first stream back had a thumbnail called False Decorations of Love. And he claims, and this person on Kiwi Farms claims that JF claimed that she tried to commit an act of terrorism against him by trying to show something on the stream right before she disappeared. So is that like a joke? Oh, you're trying to commit an act of terrorism? Or did he really take offense to that? But I don't think so. When I get back, we're going to look at some of his history. I'm going to tell you why I think it's important. and some of his tells and why, and I'll tell you my theory of what I think happened right after this break. I'll meet you on the other side of the break. If you are enjoying this episode of my True Crime Report, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and share this episode. Get access to exclusive podcasts and other bonus content by becoming a patron today. If you have a question or comment for me, shoot me a super chat and I'll do my best to answer it and read it on air. Thanks so much. Now back to the show. So I just want to ask you guys, if you were in this situation where you made your girlfriend disappear in the permanent kind, what would be, and you didn't tell anyone for 4 months and all of a sudden people are looking for her, what would be the smartest thing you would say? Well, obviously, you'd have to normalize it, right? You'd have to say, well, it was normal for her to do this. Check that box, done. You would have to minimize your part in it. You would have to say that things were going great, no problems in the relationship. And I'm surprised no one has asked him that. And you would align yourself with investigators and say, I want to find Mama JF as much as these investigators, right? Unfortunately, he has so much resentment towards her and the female sex in general that he can't even do that. But let's look at some of the more telling things that he said. But before we do that, let's look at his history. And everyone's been looking at the court documents concerning the other disabled woman that he had in his clutches for 2 weeks before she was forcibly removed. So, according to him, the police burst into his home and forcibly removed her. And he was injured in the process, and the police didn't care about his injuries. Kind of funny, no? It's funny to me. But let's just look at this clip from Reddit. Can you guys see that? This is from his show announcing her. So just days after Mama JF was last seen, he explains how he left her in the city to be a crack hoe and then returned home to clean up the crime scene.
See if she comes back like last time. At this point, I'm not counting on anything. And with time, I've just become just totally shelled from this, because it's like it happened to me so often, and so often that woman would make you commit into a lifestyle, make you commit into caring for them, and then they will just disappear and ruin your life in the process.
See, did you see how he started out saying this woman and then made it very general? He said this woman would make you care for her. She did something. She did something to tick him off.
I've learned from having my life wrecked in many cities and many governments and many countries before I got it. And I understood that you have to set your life on the assumption that your woman will leave you. And that is that should be a black pill to anyone in the chat, because here I am.
See, that's how he rationalizes it. He says, well, she would have left me anyway. And I think she was planning to. That's what I think she did. I think she planned to take the kids and herself away from him. And we're going to look at the custody, some of the things from his custody suit, which I think is so much more interesting and revealing than the documents concerning, excuse me, I had to cough, concerning JC, the other disabled woman he was with.
I'm with complete freedom, complete support. I can offer to any woman, I can pay for your life. Like, you don't need to work for the rest of your life. And here you can do whatever you want in the home. Here you want this.
Which is interesting because there are multiple people on the internet. Now, are they telling the truth that claim to have worked with Elora? So when was she working? Was this all before she was with JF?
Floor yours, that's all yours. You do whatever you like. And even when you get to that point with Bitcoin reserves and everything, they will still choose to go to the city to be a crack whore. That is just what women are. They are.
See, isn't that interesting that his story now is that it went from her being a total survivalist to now that she's doing urban hiking. She's just going from person to person with no money, no credit cards, and I assume no ID out there. Just walking around as a single mother, doesn't miss her kids, doesn't miss JF, doesn't miss her family, because we know from before that when she left him before, she went to her family because she claimed JF was abusive.
All crack whores deep inside, and some of them can hide it for temporary amounts of time for a specific purpose if they have a plan. And
see, I thought she was very naive and beautiful, but I found out that all women at their core are dark and just hoes, right? We're just substance hoes, right? That's what he's saying. So he thought she might have been different, but she was just like all the rest.
Anyways, it's not even talking here specifically about Mama JF, but women in general are simply not trustable, and they constrain themselves into living in poverty.
See, he knows that it doesn't make him look good. He's not talking about her specifically. He's just thinking about her, and these are the words that are coming out of his mouth.
Like through their own choices. And when it wrecks the life of children, I think we have a social interest in intervening and cutting out that liberty. But in my case, I'm comfortable enough, and Mama JF has left me with everything that matters in life, what matters most of life. And so what?
See, I don't need her. I have everything that matters in life. I may not have Elora anymore, but I have everything that matters because women don't really matter, right?
What can I do? I cannot hate her. I cannot be frustrated about this.
The first thing he thinks of is that he would hate her. Not that he would miss her, that he would hate her. Okay.
And that's it. So that's why I had to take 3 days total to. I made so much cleaning, so much reinstalling, so much plastering of the walls, construction, renovation. I wanted to set the home in the way I like it. It's like sterilize this home now. I can walk finally. I can access everything. The fridge is super clean. I had bought a new fridge, a gigantic fridge, and it was too bad because I couldn't profit from this fridge because there was just too much things in it. It's like, bat brain, boiled brat brain. I can't even say it. Boiled bat brains, little hairs from a squirrel, coniferous branches. Like Mama JF was operating this fridge like a fucking witch. But
right, we're all witches, right? I don't mind being called a witch. Witches are powerful. Weak men, right? It's weak men who call women witches. So yeah. So just his general demeanor is interesting here. So what made me think of, and I'm sure makes other people think of too, is he, I think they had some kind of fight. And he killed her, but how he killed her is interesting.
I'm back into what matters in
Unknown.
the fridge. I like it that way. So that's
See, now things that matter are back in the fridge. This makes me think that Elora was once in the fridge because she would be in the category of things that don't matter. And when he's talking about bat brain, he's really talking about, unfortunately, maybe a human brain. I just think that he would chop her up because it's his ultimate wish. He's been watching Dexter and fantasizing about it. And why I think that he would probably shoot her because I think he's lazy. And I know that he's had guns in the past.
That's it. It's also a part of the process of recovering. In your plans in life, I needed time to look at that home and see, all right, where am I headed in life? Do I want to attach myself to a new woman? I think I may not actively seek a woman. Although if there are women who are seeking insemination, I would be available at this point.
See, I think he's already, before this, he was already flirting with someone because he doesn't really, I mean, who would date him in Prince Edward Island who really knew him? He's only going to date fans, right, who worship him. And he's only going to date someone where the power dynamic, whether in age or IQ, is way off kilter. So he's looking for, and I think that he probably was in contact with someone, and I think he moved her in right away. And I think that's what all that cleaning was about. That's my take. I think he cannot be alone because right before this happened, and I hope I have that. If not, I'll take a break and find it. I hope I set it up. Here it is. I did. So here he is at a time where she left to be with, this is when Elora left to be with her parents because she did not like the way that JF was treating her.
At 8 p.m. Eastern Time, if by 24 hours from now you are not.
I'm really sorry about the volume. It's just really low.
Not on your way, either through plane or other forms of travel. You are not on your way back to our life. I will be investing my effort in bringing another woman here, and within the space of 36 hours, there could be an inseminated woman standing here. Also, Mama JF is telling me that she's interested in coming back.
No way. No freaking way. Mama JF wants to come back? No.
See, so this is a commentary from back when this happened.
No.
Normally, I don't take comebacks after someone separates from me, but I started this whole Wheel of Fortune on top of it, and the problem is I'm faced with there's now 7 participants. There are 7 women interested in reproducing with me.
Wait. So throughout that whole Wheel of Fortune thing, he got 7 women interested? 7 women wants to move in with JF.
So apparently he played some game, some Wheel of Fortune game. Who was going to be the next lovely lady to have his child?
And live like his sex slave. What the heck?
Some of them can readily move. They could be here tomorrow, and they could be inseminated within 36 hours.
You hear that, ladies? You want to get inseminated within 36 hours? All you have to do is go to JF's house and spread those legs.
So it's extremely uncomfortable for me to be, on the one hand, interacting with these women, and on the other hand, not being able to honor my engagements with them just because some other unreliable woman is
See, she's unreliable. He can't go out. She's stopping him from going out and sowing his wild oats. Come on. Elora,
oscillating on our
how dare you?
desires. And so that's my question to you guys tonight. What should I do? Should I leave a 24 hours return armistice to Mama JF?
That's right, bitch. You have 24 hours to come back to me to be inseminated, or this relationship is over.
You have the choice between, yes, 24 hours to return. I cannot do more than 24 hours because as I'm speaking with these other women and creating hope in them, at some point it's me who becomes unreliable because of the...
See, this is all a test. This is all a test of obedience. See, she's already been disobedient by leaving him. So he wants to test. If he says she has 24 hours, will she get back there in 24 hours? How much is she going to do what he says? He's putting out the test for her. And I think she came back. Oh, yeah. We know she came back.
Oscillations of the unreliable people around me. So I'm at the point where there are definitely super interesting women who could be readily moving with me, and they seem enthusiastic about it. And so I cannot dishonor my...
Does anyone else think Elora and JF look a little alike? Like they could be brother and sister? Has anyone else thought that?
sense of honor in front of these women for weeks, waiting for Mama JF. Maybe she will come back, maybe she will not come back. This is why the only choice I'm offering is a 24-hour armistice, knowing that our finances with Mama JF are extremely intermingled. We have a family together, and so it seems that perhaps Mama JF had not realized the extent to which it's easy for me to get a new girlfriend. I can get 7 girlfriends. There could be a group of women lined up here.
You heard that, Mama JF? If you don't come back within 24 hours, I will have 7 women in here ready to inseminate, and we are going to plop out those little bebes like never before.
Right. This is all just turning the knife.
And they could be inseminated immediately. So it's a tough choice, but what do you guys think on the regular chat? Would you like to see Mama JF back? Let me know your choice, either through the survey on entropy or in the regular chat.
Can you imagine throwing out those like major life decisions to your audience? So should I convert to Catholicism? What do you guys think? Should I move to Alaska? Let me know. Let me know in the chat, right?
I'm inclined to give perhaps 24 hours because of the intensity of our intermingling. We have a family life with products.
See, these are all just things to him. And to prove my point, when we get back, I think if you guys want to return to that, we can, but I think you guys got the point. When we return, we're going to go through some of the really like amazing things that are in those legal documents. concerning the child. So what happened was JF, at the same time that he's sleeping with, I believe he was sleeping with an one of his students. He was a researcher at Duke University. He was married, so he's having an affair. And he was also, I believe, right around the same time, all around 2016, 17, that time, he was also trying to romance this disabled woman in Texas, which worked. He got her there for 2 weeks before the state bust that up. But his third wife divorced him when she was pregnant. And it became a major custody battle even before this child was born. But the things that they say about JF in this document are really mind-blowing. And we'll talk a little bit more about how I think he did it in context of these documents when we return. If you are enjoying this episode of my True Crime Report, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and share this episode. Get access to exclusive podcasts and other bonus content by becoming a patron today. If you have a question or comment for me, shoot me a super chat and I'll do my best to answer it and read it on air. Thanks so much. Now back to the show. Okay, so let us look at these court records together. They're really reproduced poorly, but I will read them for you. So North Carolina, so when they're talking about the defendant, they're talking about JF. And when they are talking about the plaintiff, they're talking about his ex-wife who is pregnant. North Carolina is the home state for this child. Actually, she had just given birth, but it goes through the history of this child's birth. Plaintiff relocated. So his ex-wife relocated from the party's former marital residence, an apartment she rented solely prior to their marriage after enduring months of emotional abuse from defendant. Defendant has refused to accept and acknowledge that this separation is permanent and has voiced to plaintiff, her family, her attorney, and several other third parties that he does not consent to the separation or raising the minor child in two separate households. After the separation, defendant's behavior became even more unstable. For example, the defendant contacted Durham County Sheriff Department in order to have his weapons removed from the home. Defendant's behavior was so bizarre that the deputy who responded to his request contacted plaintiff to ensure she was safe. To plaintiff's knowledge, the guns remain with Durham County Sheriff's Department. Defendant was harassing plaintiff to the point where plaintiff's counsel, so JF was harassing his ex-wife so much to the point that the ex-wife's lawyer finally interacted with JF to cease all contact with his ex-wife and to correspond with her, meaning the lawyer's office only. After that point, defendant routinely sent very alarming emails to plaintiff's counsel. During the plaintiff's pregnancy, I've gotten some of those kinds of emails of you guys from some disturbed men. During the plaintiff's pregnancy, the defendant attempted to schedule multiple appointments with various OBGYN offices throughout the Triangle area, and upon learning that they would not meet with him, accused all offices of discrimination and even threatened legal action against Duke Hospital. Further, JF was under the impression that he too would be able to secure a hospital room upon the minor child's birth and instructed his ex-wife's OBGYN office as well as the hospital where he believed she would deliver that he prohibited his ex-wife from taking the minor child from the hospital. So in an effort to ensure, so she made basically arrangements where he could see the child with supervision, but during this doctor's office, but during JF's intake with Dr. Britt's office, defendant JF made it, so I'm substituting the word JF for defendant. JF made it abundantly clear that he would not follow any protocol of the office, hospital, or court order, and he would take the minor child at any chance he got. He also vocalized the same to law enforcement. Dr. Britt's office became so concerned regarding the defendant's behavior that they have provided an affidavit, which is attached herein as Exhibit A to plaintiff's counsel. Defendant clearly writes on his intake form that he will not comply with guidance that would keep him from transporting any child to my home, quote unquote. He further did not consent to have the doors locked to ensure he was not taking the child, and specifically stated that he would not take the child whether he would take the child whether he was on camera or not. Given the above, plaintiff no longer feels comfortable, meaning his ex-wife no longer feels comfortable, and is advised by third parties not to allow JF at the hospital or supervise visitations between JF and the minor child at Dr. Britt's office. So she tried to do the fair thing, but basically the court ruling, and it's so rare, these are so rare, they're like, we don't want this guy anywhere near this child. Sorry, you're insane. Prior to birth, defendant has accused, so JF has accused his ex-wife of abducting the minor child and seems to be unable to decipher that the minor child was part of the plaintiff as she remained pregnant with him at all times. Defendant accused her of abducting the child. Defendant's behavior became so alarming that the plaintiff hired a private investigator. Excuse me, I had to cough. To look into the plaintiff's background. Said investigators provided an affidavit to plaintiff's counsel. The same is attached here on as Exhibit D. Defendant's behavior has escalated over his ex-wife's pregnancy to a point where both the security at the hospital, after having their own interactions with JF, and the private investigator hired by plaintiff are concerned for his ex-wife and the minor child. Safety. Therefore, the ex-wife's hospital personnel, the ex-wife's counsel, Durham County Police, and a hired private investigator began working closely to ensure that the minor child and his mother remained safe during their hospital stay and while they transition home. At the advice of police and hospital security, the mother and the minor child are currently under aliases at a hospital in the research triage area for their own protection. Hospital personnel and plaintiff, meaning JF, and the mother are concerned that without an emergency child custody order, that they will be unable to ensure the child is not removed from the hospital by the defendant. Plaintiff is in fear for the minor child's safety. Defendant has threatened to remove the child from the United States and to return home from Canada. God, I just got like a chill running down my spine. Are these children missing? Did he make these children disappear? The defendant has demanded the Plaintiffs agree to secure the minor's child's Canadian passport. Plaintiff is sincerely concerned the defendant has every intent on following through on his threats and taking the minor child out of the country for the purposes of evading the court's jurisdiction. The fact that the defendant has not obtained citizenship in the United States heightens this concern. Okay, the minor child is in need of an ex parte order, and it just goes on and on and on. But that should give you an idea of what we're dealing with here. Thank you so much, Tommy DV, for the super sticker. I appreciate it. So that will give you an idea. So what I think happened, if he has guns, I think he killed her with a gun because I think he's lazy. But if he did not, I think he probably strangled her. And I think she threatened to leave with the kids. And I wouldn't put it past him to make the kids disappear because they seem to be replaceable for him. And they seem to be attached to the idea of keeping the woman. He seems to like to impregnate, like you never hear him talking about kids as a whole thing. Like, oh, I love being with my kids because of this, that, and the other. It's always like it's like an idea to him that he must do for his image. Because he thinks reproducing is the most important thing you can do and having a family. And I'm not arguing with that. But he just seems to see them as an extension of himself and as an object. And I think that I think this happened in the home. And I think that's why he did all that cleaning. And I think that he probably did cut her up just because he wanted to. And probably put her somewhere in that property in different places, because I cannot see him going out and risking being seen by anyone, depositing her in the ocean or another body of water. But I think it's all in that compound. And just a reminder, he would not let law enforcement into his home. As far as I know, they still haven't searched it. And I think what he did with the cell phones, he said, what am I going to do with these cell phones? And he started concocting a story. So he called the cell phone and realized that he couldn't really fake a distance with a cell phone, right? And then sent a text message and then got rid of it. Destroyed it. That might be in the ocean. So that's my theory for today. Do I have a lot of other... I always leave so much other stuff to talk about, but I am fighting the flu, and that's about as much as I can do for tonight. Have a great night, everybody. And I will see you back here really soon.